We're going to talk to David, who is very involved in Atomyx here at the React event in Ghent. So, David, super nice to see you.
Likewise.
I was just, because we spoke a little bit before the camera was turned on, are you good at keeping secrets?
I think I'm good at keeping secrets, but if you work on something like this for so long, it's not easy.
And I take that, as we spoke about before, it must be like, I mean, when you have developed and working on something, one thing is keeping it a secret to the market, but there's also a need for having input from different people, and yes, you cannot talk about it, right?
And we've been talking about this for years, and it's a natural extension of what we're doing with project work and so on. And then, but you're still thinking of it kind of in a vacuum, you know. You don't have anyone to really talk to and see how it works in their production flow. And so being able to launch this, and now we're going to see it at actual production, and that is really exciting, yes.
It's funny because I remember, I think it was you and Tom we met with at Printing United a couple of years ago, right? And at that time you had a booth, no computer screens, no nothing, basically talking about implementing. And I remember I asked Tom saying that, but when you're implementing software on a remote basis, how does that work? I guess that was field research for Atomyx, right?
In a way, it is field research, and I think in many ways, COVID helped us to see what the potential was of doing things on distance. You can't go on premise, so you have to think of things. But I think all of these projects that we did for customers make us realize that we're doing things over and over again, and it's the same stuff that we're doing. And it shouldn't be like that. And if you look outside our industry and you look at concepts like iPaaS, this integration platform as a service, is something that fits so nicely in what we do.
So when other industries have been able to do what Atomyx is now promising the industry, because I mean the promises Tom gave on stage was pretty bold, right?
Yes.
But I was just thinking is that because data in let's say in the financials or are more normalized, more streamlined, and more like bigger data, or why is it more common to do it in other industries?
I think it's a process. It was a process there as well. I think you
they were
saw
just faster, basically, or
you saw a lot of these platforms pop up around. What is it? Internet of Things, and you had a number of platforms built around that. Yeah. And then I think also in some other industries, the data that they work with is more metadata than actual production files. The size of the documents,
so the
complexity, that I think makes a difference as well. Yeah. And maybe our industry is just a little bit conservative once in a while.
But that doesn't change because Atomyx is born. No. So right now the mission is, one thing is to get feedback from the market, what is needed. Do you need to, let's say, I wouldn't say strong arm, but encourage, let's say, software vendors to adapt to a certain standard in order to utilize Atomyx, or how does that work?
Proof of the pudding is in the eating. Yeah, we have to see. Yeah. But I think when you look at the people we've talked to so far, and the very enthusiastic reactions.
You see that on some of your
exactly.
logos behind us.
And
right?
It's not that we had to strong arm them, it's that we explained the concept and they went like, yeah, this is something that should have been done a long time ago. Yeah. So no, I think people are really ready for this. Yeah.
And basically for our audience to understand what this is about, Atomyx is basically the platform that enables communication among different software types, and both on the production side with the customer side, and as you mentioned, or Tom mentioned also, the manufacturers. And the manufacturers, is that machine manufacturers, or is that what kind of manufacturers are we talking about?
Yes.
All of them. Okay. But so that basically means that you can communicate down to, let's say, a machine level on a printing press.
Certainly is. I mean, the fact that there is Xicon on here, for example, is not a coincidence. Yeah.
It's because it's a Belgian company, right? Okay. Also,
that helps in terms of communication. Sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
But no, I think that the story that I think we're developing is that you need to connect everything. If you really want to make it completely efficient, then you need to connect everything. And it's not just that pre-press part, it is really the whole ecosystem around it. And it includes things like accounting systems, it includes things like delivery platforms, and it certainly includes the devices that you use to print. You can't go without that. Yeah.
And I take that's also because if you look at, I mean, all software using today, it seems that everything is getting more and more is getting online, of course, and cloud-based, right? But it also gets, I don't know about you, but I use Zapier, for example, and I love Zapier because basically if I have 2 or more different API-based solutions, I don't want to have data on my local computer, I want to connect them in the cloud, basically, right? And I think that there's a more and more need for people to have basically that when you have cloud-based solutions, it needs to be on, let's say, one platform to make sure that you can take benefit of it.
But it's also, and that is something I think that we communicated as well, it doesn't have to be competition. I mean, Zapier is a very good example, and connecting Atomyx Manage with Zapier is certainly something that is on the roadmap because it just makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, basically you can also bypass some of the integration parts you would have to do with other softwares because it's already been aligned, basically, right? Yeah, yeah. So on a personal note, I was just wondering, because you've been, I was just about to say in all the iterations of 4P. So how is it for you to be part of it in the current iteration?
It's a little bit of a trip, you know. I mean, we
when you saw from 2007, right? Yeah.
We started this out doing one thing, and then you have to evolve and you become something else, and we're doing that again. I think the difference in a way is that in the previous iterations, we kind of evolved from one thing to another. Here, and that is also why we see Atomyx as a separate company.
Oh, it's a separate company?
It is going to be a separate company.
I thought it was
because
part of
I think, no, I think the two things need to be next to each other.
Okay.
We have a distribution thing going on with 4Ps and a direct integration thing.
So that will keep going as people know already?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely, that will certainly keep going. And then you have Atomyx, which is a product. And of course, 4Ps can do services around Atomyx, but there are plenty of other partners that can deliver services around it as well.
And I think it's a kind of interesting approach because I think that if you look at, I don't know if it's comparable, but if you look at companies like CTO, for example, I think that one of the reasons why I think they have issues is sometimes when you're owned by a big manufacturer, whoever it is. It's all, I think it's the same with HP and Print OS. It has also a lot of things, but I can't imagine Canon on a Print OS, and I cannot imagine Koenig & Bauer on a
The independence is important.
Yeah. And I think that what you do with having Atomyx as a separate entity probably eliminates. Plus, you're also independent as a smaller company, of course, right?
Yeah. But you want to be able to connect to everybody, and I think you're right. If you belong to one of the big printers or whatever it is, then it's really difficult to be able to do that. So.
I am thrilled that we are here. I am excited on your behalf, and I think you are onto something really big. So I think that maybe Tom was a little bit too humble. I think we will make an impact in the industry.
I think we will, but we're Belgians, and Belgians are typically modest. So we can talk 5 years from now, and then you can tell us how much impact we have.
So when we go back and see that what we thought was actually the right thing, then we can talk about bragging a little bit.
Okay. Then we'll brag a little bit.
Super. Thank you, David.